I sent out the minutes from our last, actually, 2 meetings. Did everyone get a chance to review them? Okay.
I didn't have a chance to read, sorry.
I guess we could table that till next.
We could unless somebody else wants to make a motion and act on our video. And did anybody read them?
Yes. I make a move to.
I was gonna say, I can't because.
Okay, anybody second the motion to table?
Sure.
Thank you. All right, we can move on, commissioners report, encampment report, anything?
I have nothing to really report on the encampment. I do not have anything. I don't know if the police or the borough manager are here.
I think we might be both here to find out more, because it has been a little quiet.
It has been quiet. We haven't had many calls back there anymore. I'm not saying that it's not as prevalent as it had been. I know Sheriff's Department had been in there and they moved them out last fall. And it hasn't been as much of an issue since then. We've cleaned up the area pretty well. I know throughout the summertime, they had moved to another location along the Honing Creek that we had gotten some calls for, but it was a small issue that nothing's been really been speaking or cropping up for a while now. We do have the shelter that's now across the street at the church, though. I know that that's stirring a lot of interest from the community and people that are coming in to me, but outside of that.
What do you?
Yeah, and there is no report from the sheriff. So, I mean, I don't want to assume because you should never do that, but I'm sure, like the chief said, if the activity's down, it doesn't mean they've gone, but they've maybe gone somewhere else. They're probably located somewhere else.
I believe that may be the case. I think that also it's winter time, so folks are hunkered down in various places. Unfortunately, we might see an uptick when the weather breaks, but hopefully not. But let's see.
I do know from Esther, they are pretty full though.
Yeah. Because even as part of the point in time count, which I'll say later, it made a huge difference having the cold weather shelter open.
Oh, it certainly is why you're not seeing a lot of people down.
Yeah.
There, can I
It was
just,
us.
yeah, can I ask, you said that the shelter on the corner of Third Street is stirring some,
Just residents that have concerns about their vehicles, with them meandering outside and that's stuff. I know we've had some people that have been inside the shelter that we found that had some warrants. We were in there the other day and there was a funeral that we had taken out for a warrant.
Yeah.
And so I'm curious. I don't exactly know how it's all set up and how, if you screen people that are coming in or what you guys do with people that are in there, how that works, if there's how much staff's on hand at that location.
so we have, well, I'm gonna give you a report and some of those
I
questions are gonna
want
answer
you guys to
whenever you're
give your
ready.
report first, and then.
This is a little bit of a long report and I typed it out because I didn't want to forget any of the important points that we're trying to get across here. So I'm just gonna read it from the
Excuse
paper.
me, can you identify yourself for the minutes?
I'm Jessica Jones. I am on the steering committee with Nancy Birchtold and Esther Meyer for the cold weather shelter that is on the corner of Third Street in Lehighton. We've been open since December 1st and we've been open about 60 nights. We open when temperatures are 25 degrees or below. And since Sunday, February 9th, we've been open 24 hours due to the extremely low temperatures and an outbreak of the flu and stomach bug. So a number of our guests have been hit pretty heavy with one or the other. This has taken a lot of volunteers to make it happen. The outpouring of time, food, clothing, blankets, money, and supplies from the community has been amazing. And we thank everybody so much for their donations. We have many new volunteers from all areas of the county and even a few that come from out of county to help. Every night the shelter is open, we need 8 volunteers to cover 4-hour shifts. We start at 6 p.m. to 10 p.m., 10 p.m. to 2 a.m., 2 a.m. to 6 a.m., and then 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. It is exhausting, but we do it because it's the right thing to do and very much needed in our community. The most vulnerable in our community need us to step up for them because our county has ignored the situation for far too long. It is great to have a homeless task force, but what good does it do if there is no action? What is being done outside of this bi-monthly 1-hour meeting? Jamie Drake and her team at Carbon Monroe Pike Drug and Alcohol have been extremely helpful this winter by offering their services to those in need. So far this winter, 5 guests have made the decision to attend rehab and are doing well. If I'm being honest, we feel abandoned by our county officials and many of the county agencies in place to help those in our community. What needs to happen for Carbon County to take a serious interest in helping solve the problem of homelessness? Why do we not have a county-run shelter with paid professionals in Carbon County? When you think of the cold weather station, you are probably thinking that most of our guests are from Tent City. While a handful of them are formerly from Tent City, that is not the majority of what we are seeing this year. We are seeing people being released from jail with no plans, elderly being dropped off by the sheriff's department, an elderly 70-year-old woman being kicked out of her home with nowhere to go on one of the coldest days this winter. Young adults not prepared for the future and no one to support or guide them. And a double amputee dropped off in a wheelchair in 10 degrees. Our shelter is not handicap accessible, nor are we a nursing home. What other options are available for them? What happens to our guests when our doors close on March 31st? Are we proud to say that we are from Carbon County when so many of our people are suffering with nowhere to turn for hope and support? Our volunteers have had to wear many hats this winter, including medical, taking care of the sick and elderly that are not able to help themselves with basic daily living tasks, legal to help navigate difficult and very frustrating legal issues, social workers, caseworkers. Most people go to a 4-year college and obtain a degree to do this kind of work, but not the volunteers of the cold weather shelter. We are working every day to try and figure out how to get people the help they need. Psychologists, lending a listening ear to those in our care that feel helpless and like no one else cares about them. Peacekeeper, to manage many different personalities that do not always get along with each other. Drivers, chauffeurs, to doctor's appointments, probation appointments, etc. The list goes on, but I think you get my point, and from my words, you may also sense my frustration. The county has been approached in the past to look for funding for a homeless shelter, and the answer is always a very quick, there is no money. I would really like to encourage you to make this a priority for Carbon County. Instead of sitting together every other month for an hour, let's put our heads and hearts together to make a real change. So probably a little bit of a different update than what you guys were expecting, and we're open to answering any questions, but there's a huge need for this. And you know, in the past, the mentality has always been, oh, they're, you know, on drugs and they don't want help, or they have mental health issues. That is not the majority of what we're seeing this year. It's just not.
No, and certainly at our shelter. That is, I mean, we don't drug screen. When somebody comes in, we're a low barrier shelter.
And if I can, I want to say again, I said this at the last meeting, thank God you are open, because we do see a difference. Let me say, I think you're preaching to the choir. I'm not sure I appreciate the attack on other agencies or, because there are limited resources. We don't discriminate, but this is happening all over the place. And I know this hour meeting may seem like it's a waste of time, but the only way to get something moving is by trying to get a group of interested people together to do something. Resolutions don't occur overnight. The whole purpose for us trying to pull this together is to do something. But I truly appreciate, what it is you're doing. And I agree, there is a definite need for it. The issue is the resources and how do we get those resources? Let's put some minds together and figure this out. That's the whole purpose for this. Agreed.
One of the challenging aspects, and Kim knows about this, and so does Kathy, is the point in time study will help, because it helps identify the numbers And then the state continuum of care grant is always a possibility. It's just if our numbers are as up there as compared to some of the other counties. And that becomes always like the numbers game. What's large for Carbon County may not be large overall. And those dollars, which could be flexible dollars and could be utilized for something like this, it's always, it can be tried. And, you know, I'll mention it right now. If there's interest in going after those dollars, I can certainly help as a resource because of being familiar with that pot of money, but it's not easy. And it's because it's state, it would be something that would be against a number of other entities out there. I mean, they both know.
We addressed this at one of the resource meetings, you know. Yeah, it's either the way you go after these funds, only one entity, like if a county government's going after it, then it has to be for all entities. Just as at one time it used to only be the action committee that used to go after, I shouldn't used to go after, but used to seek funding under ESG. But then Family Promise had interest and we said, okay, then let's put a plan together for both of them. You know, we put in a request for 120,000. We're lucky we get 60,000. So similarly, we talked about this at the resource meeting. If we would bring a third group in, it's with the understanding that you might be requesting more, but you're not necessarily going to be getting what you ask. You have two choices. You can either go after those funds, and it doesn't necessarily have to be ESG, it could be COC monies, whatever. And there may be people online that could speak to it more than I. But the other way of going after the request is to find another unit of government. And that's where I said it could be a borough, it could be whatever. You know, that's the other way. Is there a guarantee you will get equal thought? Is there a guarantee you will get additional monies? I'm not certain. I'm not certain it adjusted because it still comes down to all the other counties in this state that may have greater needs. That's the unfortunate part of it.
We have great needs. Oh, see.
Don't
yeah,
doubt it.
We do.
If I may just, I'm not, first of all, thank you, Freud. I've been down to the shelter, you know that, and I think you're doing a great job and thank you for continuing. I do take a little exception, just as the rest is what is done. It's a resource card that's been handed out that has all the agencies and everything's available for everybody to reach out. Those resources, they're there. You need to I can take a horse to water, but I can't make it drink.
So someone without a cell phone, how do they get connected with a resource?
They can come to the county, they can come here to the county, come into the courthouse, they can get information there. Jamie Drake, CMP, that's a provider that is paid for certain things from Carbon County. That's county money that's being invested with her for certain services that she provides. So there is county money that goes to her. Now, I'm not saying that that's everything, some of that she's doing, obviously volunteering, and I commend her for that. But there's resource money that comes from Carbon County that goes to Jamie Drake, because she's a provider.
Using that, yeah.
Using a resource.
Okay, so when you say there's nothing going from the county,
I
we
did
no.
mention Jamie Drake.
Well, yeah, and that's why I'm saying, but when you say there's no resources from the county going, that's a stretch. There's also, we just got into a grant agreement where we got money from an LSA, where we had to sign up at, Nescahoning, and you apply. That's money that also has come from the state. And like you said, when you look at the need, yes, there is a strong need in Carbon County, but when you do numbers, we're small on the big scale, and those needs are greater in other areas. And that just pushes us and that's a push that has to happen on the state level.
And as we're talking about numbers, you know, our, right now, we're housing, was it 32? 31, sorry.
22 kids and nine adults.
So we're, packed full. We have, over 100 on our waiting list. I think it's 115. Our families are staying longer. It's a 90-day program. I have families there that have been there over 200 days. The problem in the area, is, not only, shelter space, but it's also affordable housing and that's where we really need to.
Actions need to be taken.
We need to focus on that. The updates, for Family Promise, we hoped to have our cold weather shelter open. We ran into a heating problem. When you work on 100-year-old buildings, things happen. It was water, that it was the new heating system. So, there's plans to certainly do that. There are plans that maybe we can partner together. Maybe we have your folks in the day to help you guys out when you're housing them at night. And there's a lot of things that we could come up with there. We are going to be going towards offering a community meal once a month. Maybe developing it into a soup kitchen too, and expanding on that. We're also offering shelter diversion, case management, and eviction prevention case management. I am so sorry, John. Every time I see, I apologize. We fielded in 2024, 934 calls that we either referred to Action Committee, the ERAP program, or just given advice to people how to stay in their homes, and have gone to, talk to landlords on people's behalves. And so that's what Family Promise has been doing.
One more thing. And again, I'll keep mentioning, as Sarah knows me, I will be a resource if possible. If you are involved with government and funds, the capacity will be much more strict. So it's not that it can't be done, it's understand the rules and regulations are gonna be much more strict than maybe your already guidelines adhere to. Think broadly, don't just think about HUD dollars if you're thinking about federal, but also think, you mentioned about drug and alcohol. That could be an area where you could get dollars from if you're thinking in that vein. Think about what some of the issues are with some of the attendees, and then you can go in that direction to see if there's either state or federal dollars in those directions. But when you think government, there will be a lot of strings attached and a lot of organization that need to be from a capacity standpoint. Also think about private dollars, and maybe you've already keyed in on some of the larger businesses, and that might be a resource in order to tap from, because if you could utilize them as some way of, they always have to give back a little bit, and it may not be much, but it could be a $5,000 grant here or there from the Walmart or from Giant or some of the banks have to do some give back, part of their mission statement, and you can actually key in on them. It's going to be a little kitty, but it might be a kitty of something if you can start that. But it will be very challenging after a while. Because it's
The purpose of the cold weather shelter is just really a code blue shelter during December, January, February, and March. We can't sustain it all year long running on volunteers. It's just not possible. We have people burning out left and right. If there's concerns from the community, I'd like to hear about them, because they have not been brought to anyone's attention.
Yeah.
So if you wanted to talk about that at some other time, we can certainly do that.
And I also want to add that this is so much more basic than what we've all even said at this point. Remember how we began and how have we survived? We've survived by donations from primarily individuals, and we are doing fine. We're doing fine if we're talking money. What we're really talking about is our community recognizing an issue and a problem, knowing that we were given a property last year, that we would have loved to have been able to open a transitional shelter. But I would love to not need the government or the strings attached. You know that, Rob, as Christian Catholics, give me St. Vincent de Paul, which is what we have. and let it go from there. Let it go from compassion and love. And if I'm upset, that's what I'm upset about right now. I'm upset about the fact that we have had this incredible flow of complete strangers from all over the place who care about our population that we are serving right now. And yet, the amount of disconnect between our government folks, is the thing that we really have to look at. The systemic issue, the issue of, oh, well, they're outside on the sidewalk. How much do we need to hide them from all of you? We're doing our best. You have no idea to have seen that man come down the steps with his legs, without legs, coming down to us, and knowing we were going to do the best we could, but we didn't know how. We didn't need government to come in and tell us what to do. We did what we needed to do, which is to care for them. So while we sit around and try to defend ourselves because, oh, just put it on the line, I want you to just, stop. I just want you to kind of just look at yourselves and recognize.
Truly believe that in 20 years, we haven't faced the same situations.
Well,
I
yeah,
can't
let's
believe
talk
this.
about it then sometime.
Let's.
Yeah,
Let's.
let's.
Okay, ladies.
Nancy, one of the other grants that could be a possibility that comes out of the continuum of care is what's called Shelter Plus Care. And again, it operates very similar to like a Section 8 program, but the people have to have some type of disability. And it could be mental, physical, a variety of different aspects. So that could be an application process. Again, we could try to do it because if people who are attending, even if they have some type of disability and we work with them to get on Social Security Disability, SSDI, then they're going to be limited resources that they can get to, which would be that next level. But that might be something to apply, even if we could get something up, maybe 4 or 5 units because again, it could be something that could be a lifetime and they don't have to move, but it might be something to apply for in the continuum of care application round. It's something, I'm just trying to draw straws on some type of application that could come about.
Thanks, Rob. And I'd like to follow up. We're all here because we believe in helping. We believe in doing our best to solve an issue that is not just a Carbon County issue. Our heart breaks every day. I handle calls, Ryan handles calls. We've all been in situations where it's, a tough call. Well, what do we do? And we're all here because we care and we try. And yes, sometimes neighbors do complain. I know that at Family Promise, we do our best, but there are just people out there who have a stereotype in their mind that, they're homeless, they're on drugs, they're this, or that, the other thing. Well, yes, sometimes that is the case. More often than not, it isn't. And I don't want to waste everybody's time here with being on my soapbox, but I think that, our commissioners have given us this forum. My hat's off to Mike. He's been nothing but supportive. And I think that, instead, I want us to work together. That's what we need to do. This isn't a competition. I feel that, we all can make a difference. And it's just, I just feel that, you're attacking everybody here. So please.
We
don't
have,
do
and
that.
we all have a similar mission. If you have needs, try to share with us what your needs are. Is there something that groups can do, like she said, during the daytime to help you out? What are the needs? You're saying you need help, but you don't want government. Then you condemn government. I mean, we're trying to determine what some of those needs are. Don't appreciate the attacks. We are here for the same mission. We have the same concerns.
I wasn't here for the beginning, so obviously I don't know what all was said, so if I repeat myself or repeat something that was already said, I apologize. My frustration is that we have so many different people in our shelter, and they might have brought this up, that have so many different needs, and we just feel frustrated that we can't, I mean, yes, we're a cold weather shelter, but we're really, really trying to help each individual to go on after we're closed, to have some sort of hope. And we're trying that, but we have elderly people, we've contacted Office of Aging, but I don't know, I've been frustrated with, and they call and they say, oh, well, they give us a bunch of, like, we had this one 78-year-old woman who her kid kicked her out of her house. And here she is, she has a little dog.
She can
And
barely walk.
yeah, and what?
Is that the woman that was taken?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So did you already talk to her?
We didn't even get to speak to her. She could barely make it in the door.
Exactly.
The volunteer brought her and she needed hospital. She needed.
Yeah, well, she went to the hospital, now she's on rehab, but like we have another woman that was kicked out by her brother. I mean, he got a PFA against her. And like, we need lawyers' help. We need social workers. Because we're not trained to do that. We don't know what we're doing.
I feel your frustration because even though we're trained to do that, there are days, and I'm sure
We do, yep, I know where you're going, go ahead.
there are days where you've exhausted your like little magic toolkit bag of tricks that you know that could help. And it's still not enough. And like, okay, now where do I go? What do I tell them to do? And, as a social worker, we're trained to do this, so I can understand your frustration.
And-
there are sometimes it's just not there.
And the reality of it is, even though, like you said, you're looking, you don't have anything else to offer them. You don't have an answer for them. You tell them to do what the state tells them to do, call 211. Guess what? They're gonna be referred right back to us.
Yeah, 211.
They're gonna be referred right back to us, and we've exhausted our resources. I mean, and this is not something that's only occurring in Carbon County in Pennsylvania. It's occurring nationwide. There is a great need nationwide.
Esther, have you tried contacting some of the private attorneys to maybe be on call or a local psychologist? There are people out there. Just explain what you're doing and ask if they could give some time.
Well, we're trying that. We have doctors that are helping us with our flu epidemic. We have an attorney that called us because of our the newspaper article. She called us and she said she wanted to help. Now, she hasn't gotten back to us because she has to get the okay from her group to say that she can. We could really use a psychiatrist.
Mental health.
There's so many, mental health.
Call, CMP mental health or.
Called CMP Mental Health 2 days ago and she's still waiting for a call back.
We've been trying to reach, we've been trying to reach them.
Look at the hospital, their psychiatric unit. Maybe somebody there could volunteer.
We've got five weeks left. 5 weeks left.
You go the therapist route. A psychologist or a psychiatrist is just gonna, for any of those facilities, is just to get somebody on meds. And it's just to do a script.
If you need somebody to come down in a different life, that's what I did. So, I'd be happy to volunteer sometime.
And as far as the day program during the day, I mean, that would be great, but how are we gonna get them up to next morning?
It will, I wanna talk to you guys about that, like, we'll come and pick them up.
Okay,
If-
because
but
most
we-
of them come up to my
yeah.
office during the day, and I have like 19 people in my office, and believe me, the church loves it.
Yeah, that's at the
Oh, yeah,
convent.
19
The
homeless
convent.
people hanging around the church all
Yeah.
day.
Complaints about people walking on the street, you know.
We were supposed to be open in November, so, as soon as we get our heating problem straightened out I will definitely reach out, and yeah, we could look at that for a couple of weeks to give folks, you know, something to do, like, we'll pick them up and my board's gonna kill me, or pick them up, I'll take them back, so, you know, we'll see what we can arrange that.
Or like even like we're planning on closing down next week because it's gonna be warm. We're gonna be closed for like 4 days. Where are some of these elderly women gonna go? They can't go out in a tent. You know, like the other people that are used to being homeless. I mean, I'm gonna have to take them home with me. My gosh, I don't know what to
Yeah.
do.
Yeah, we're all saying, whose house are they gonna go to? There's.
This
It's,
is where I'm saying, I think that's what this group's for, and again, it's not gonna happen overnight, but we gotta start looking at the housing and the type of housing that's available in our communities. You know, we don't
Well,
need
that's what
always
we've been
these
talking
large
about all
houses.
this time.
But I know, but
Here.
you know.
we've been talking to this for a year. I mean, like now, have we yet gotten the homeless on the top of the list? You know, I mean, they have no hope.
And it doesn't, yeah, and it's like I said, it doesn't, unfortunately, resolutions do not occur overnight. Just as the point in time count, until the count gets in, I believe as I was doing the point in time count for 25, HUD had just released nationally their point in time count from the prior year. So, I mean, it takes working with government overall, nationally, it takes time, unfortunately. And getting through all the different local municipality codes and whatnot. Again, it gets down to, we don't want those type of people. You know, when we're saying we need more just single room occupancy type deals. They'd be, many individuals could live quite happily in a room, in a shared bathroom, in a shared kitchen. But, you know, you don't have a lot of that available. And that's where I think some of the communities need to be speaking as a whole. You know, I'm right there with you. I work full-time. I not only do my normal, I put in 15, 16-hour days. I'm currently supposed to be at home under medical care. Return to work after a week. I mean, please do not think we don't understand what you're going through. But again, I know it's frustrating. I'm as equally frustrated, but what we're dealing with on an access basis is what frustrates the heck out of even Kathy and myself. The residents that she's worked with, people that we work with that have gotten jobs. But there's nothing out there that they can afford to even rent, even though they have resources that they could pay rent. But the type of facilities or places that are available to them.
Aren't there, and then we get into, certain, places that they apply, property management, where they apply, they spend $40 per application. So say a property
Yeah.
management group has 5 properties listed for rent. It's not just one $40 fee, it's a $40 fee for each of those properties. And they never get the property, so
And they don't get that money back.
they don't get the money back.
$200 to someone living, living day to day. It's just, frustrating. Yeah.
It is, that's our
There's
frustration.
You know, and I wish I could make communities realize this and want to address it on their own, but again, can this small group belong to it? No, until we can get some people in there to push the efforts,
Well, does everyone here realize that, and talk about the boarding homes, renewed, above the renewed shop up
Yes.
on First in Laheyton? They're doing a beautiful job of renovating and it's it's lovely. You know, we've placed a couple of folks there. It's $600 a month to rent a room with a bathroom down the hall. And really for folks on SSI, Social Security, yeah, they can just about squeak by because most of our folks seem to, if they have an income like that, who have been homeless, they have maybe $1,000 coming in a month. So that 600 can go to that room, you know, and with food stamps and that, they can get by, barely get by. But I find that anyone who I talk to and I say it's $600 for a tiny room, the size of a closet to live in, they just get shocked. You know, how many of us have mortgages that are, you know, just about that amount? So, yeah, you know, we're in a dilemma for sure. And more of those rooms, they've been so helpful. It's been wonderful to have them.
Nancy, I always tell them it's 150 a week,
Hundred and
and
fifty a
that's
week.
easier for them to swallow.
Yeah.
It's still reality.
Yeah,
yes.
but it works better.
It's how
I
you look
know.
at it. And I mean, you know, the community, Carbon County in general, the people are so very generous. It's overwhelming. The generosity we see, it's just the, you know, the affordable housing thing. The action committee report.
Do you have anything to offer after all this?
We're still getting calls. Many people call up and say, I'm looking. They can't find anything that they can afford. I refer them to different websites. There's nothing much I can tell them at that point. We spent a lot of time on the pit count. That took several weeks out of our month and, we're doing the best we can. We're still getting referrals through the 211 hotline there and sometimes I can help them effectively. Other times there's nothing much I can say to them. Just keep trying, keep looking. I make suggestions. Are they on the housing list? You know, what resources do they have available to them, if any? Do they have transportation? Can they go and get a job? Well, I'm not working. What kind of work have you done in the past? Maybe I've heard something where I can refer them, but frustrating for me too. It's like everything else. And we have housed several people successfully in Renewed Life and also in the Weissport Hotel. Little rougher, but it's a roof.
Right.
Thank you. Gina, Nichols or Megan, they're online. Do you guys have any, updates with ERAP?
Yes, we do. Sorry, I apologize for my voice. I'm a little under the weather, so my voice is just going to sound a little weird. So for the update I have for you guys, we are actually actively closed for any new applications for ERAP while we are spending down the remaining funds. So in total, we have 117 applications that were able to be processed and paid out directly to either the tenants or the landlords. 25 right now that I have for pending for payments this week. 21 in final review, so they're just waiting for me to give a determination on them. 66 applications that we're still waiting back for information. So those people could get paid out if we have a complete application from them. Another 60 did apply prior to our shutdown, and then 203 were denied due to being ineligible, out of the county, or fraudulent application. We're about a little over 100,000 remaining balance. And I think we have about a month left just to get through the applications that we have right now. I don't believe we will be reopening back up, but we'll see when we do the spend down just to make sure.
Thank you. Any questions for Gina or, Megan, ERAP?
I just want to say, Megan, thank you for taking on this role. And thank you for the United Way for taking these funds, and it's been needed for Carbon County, so it's appreciated.
Thank you so much, Rob. I really appreciate it. Thank you guys all for sending us referrals and everybody that's been working diligently to make sure that, you know, we are getting the real people that really need assistance. So I do appreciate all the partners for getting the word out that we're even open.
Um. Thank you. Rob,
Hmm.
you have
Well-
anything on the,
Well, we haven't had a housing meeting just because of the weather and for the winter months, but we're gonna start. So if you wanna, put this on your calendar, it'll be March 27th at 3 p.m. And each meeting is at the Housing Authority, so 215 South Third Street.
thanks, Rob. Also, I spoke with, Marcia Macalush, I know I'm probably killing her name. The other day, and we had, since Carol stepped down, we had kind of disbanded the outreach committee or resource committee, but Marcia would like to start that again. So I'm going to meet with her this week and I'll send out an email, when we would have like a Zoom call or something, with that information. Is there anything else that we would like to discuss?
I'd like to say something. Just like everyone else has already said, thank you for everything that you guys do. I wanted to touch base on something that Chief said. He had mentioned that there were some concerns at the administration building in the borough and at the police station. We see two different lines of communication, things that he sees, I don't see, vice versa. From our end, we haven't heard any complaints. Whether there are some things going on behind the scenes, that would be between the chief and you guys if you wanted to discuss. The borough has not, borough council, borough staff, we have not seen any issues with anything regarding the shelter. And I wanted to say that, our hands are pretty much 99.5% tied. We're here today because we were able to make it. Chief could vouch, we've been trying to get here the last couple of months. We couldn't get here. It's very difficult for us to take some time away. We'd like to find a niche that we could help with. No matter how small it is, we just want to know what we could do. So, at a minimum, if there is, where could we find the best place for public information regarding your shelter? Our hands are tied, we can't give away money, but we might be able to advocate, get the public involved and see if we can round up some more volunteers for you. Where can we find that information that we can share it? Okay.
We mentioned Old Weather Station.
So the Facebook page, I believe Nancy, I've seen your post, so I can share that from the Facebook and send, and all correspondence to whom? Who should, if somebody wants to call, who should it go to?
Send them to me.
All right,
My number's on there.
awesome.
Now, last year you guys brought the garbage from Weisport and we loved you forever for that. Now we have the garbage right outside.
And
lots of garbage.
Lots of garbage.
Things
So
like
thank
that.
you to the sanitation group we appreciate that.
Things like that, they don't cost the taxpayer any money and it only takes us 15 minutes of our time. We have the manpower, we could do those things.
Right.
We wish that we could do more, but as many of us up here have already been saying, beating the dead horse, our hands are tied. So it's mostly what can we do, not, how much can we give?
And from my perspective, it's not my personal opinion. I realize I'm the face that's sitting here, but the questions or the concerns from the public that came in to me aren't the ones that I may personally feel that way. It's just that I happen to be the one that's expressing it. That's-
I missed it. What were the concerns from the public?
And we could
Besides
go-
them out smoking on the
And
sidewalk?
it really wasn't much more other than that, just the concerns for the people that were outside on the sidewalk more often, people that they haven't seen in the area in the past. It's in the area where the station is and where the church is, it's a community where a lot of people walk, and residents or older residents, maybe some that are in the area. So when they see people that are different that they haven't seen in the past, they just get concerned if they're outside and
It sounds
more often
silly.
than enough.
It sounds silly, but it's such a tight-knit community. When something's different, no matter what it is, it could be a free puppy station. You're going to get people, freaking out about it because it's different and they're not comfortable with it. So maybe it's just, you know, maybe it is just as much as, you know, as educating the public. This is what's going on. I know you had reached out in the past, asking if it's something that we wanted to discuss, bring up at a council meeting. At the time, I didn't know if the answer was education. Maybe at this point, maybe at this point it is.
Well, we're looking at that. We may be closing on March 31st, but our work is not done on March 31st. We'll regroup, refresh ourselves and get back.
Yeah, we'd like to find a bigger building.
Don't worry, we're not gonna be across from the police station for too much longer.
Reality, though, if there were some concerns that were of a need that I felt I needed to come over and address with you, I would have.
Yeah, we know.
But everything that came into me were ones that people just needed, basically a venue to vent.
We had
and
someone,
talk about.
the first couple of weeks, we had someone, a neighbor, a couple doors down from us, come and knock on the door and say, her parking space, she was pregnant, and that's my parking space. Now, of course, we know it's not her parking space, but, of course, we'll be, we're trying to be respectful of that kind of thing in a small town, and.
And they can get loud when they go out there and smoke, but we're not gonna
They
let them
stop
smoke in
at
the building,
11 PM, they are not. I mean, Chief, we should have probably been more proactive in letting you all know how strict we can be with them. 11 o'clock, no one's out there. They're not allowed to be out from 11 till 7. Some of us who come into the 6 AM shift will say at 6:30, if someone comes and says, can I please go up and have a cigarette? It's like, yes, you can. So, it's not like it's in the middle of the night, they're out there, making a
Hopefully.
lot of noise, but we will share, or I will
Yeah.
share, you
Yeah.
guys may not want me to share, that we, the same issue of our closing at 10 AM. And in the very cold days, 28 degrees, they end up, many of them walk up to the convent because they know Esther's there, the old convent at St. Peter and Paul. And yes, we have heard through the rumor mill that some of our parishioners are upset about that, upset that the homeless are on campus. Even though Esther is there in charge, this is what we're talking
and
about,
they smoke there too, and father doesn't like it.
right?
The general public though, too, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. So,
One thing I could say in this job, you won't make everybody happy, so
Yeah.
I'm sure it's, it's the same in all aspects of public service.
yeah.
Oh, and I thought I made everybody happy.
We definitely need more space because we were very tight downstairs and the flu just took over. And thank the Lord, Pastor Julian let us use the sanctuary, and we were able to use that for the healthy and separate the sick. Like has been mentioned, we were in touch with Dr. McGinley and Dr. Dobosh from St. Luke's, who have been just amazing and are looking at doing a street medicine program and a clinic. And they were there to tell us right away what we needed to do to protect ourselves from this terrible flu that we all know is here. So,
Well, thank you. Is there anything else for anyone? I guess we should, look at our next meeting. That would be April, that's Good Friday. Is the 25th available?
Yes.
Let's look at April 25th. I am. And hopefully we won't have to worry about, snow. In April, yeah.
Does anyone have any questions on the shelter, the cold weather shelter that they'd like to ask?
I probably will after the fact.
okay, great.
Okay.
Finally.
Thank you all.
And
That's them.
yeah.
Okay, Gina Nichols, said that she would like to meet, separately about, the warming shelter and the homeless shelter, and I think that's a very good idea, and maybe we could even roll that into the resource meeting. So I think that would be a good,
Have something separately on what some of the needs are from your.
yeah, and then when I meet with Marcia, I think that that would be a good direction, because originally the outreach committee, we developed the resource cards and all of that. So that's all in place, so this may be a good, what can we do for certain populations, so I think that's a good way to steer that.
Can I ask a question for Gina? Gina.
Hey, I'm here.
Okay, how about the United Way application cycle? Is that this year?
It's not this year. We're about a year and a half out. Our cycle was about 3.5 years. There might be, so every year we might have kind of sub pockets of funding that are released on a yearly basis. This year it was just closed and the focus was veterans. But I can let the group know if there's anything housing related, but I do know we're just talking internally about what it is that we can do. I know that there's interest, especially after having our foray with ERAP and kind of getting into the housing world. So we're looking at what more we can do next as well. But as of right now, no additional funding through us.
Thank you, Gina. All right, everyone, thank you.